All right, we are live for the Monday edition of the Morning Check-In. And as always, looking forward to connecting. Hope everyone is off to a great morning. And let me make sure everything is flowing smoothly on my end here. Then we're going to get into some very interesting subjects, nevertheless. And today I want to start off with just some headlines that caught my attention, in particular, the bankruptcies, as well as some foreclosures. Ultimately, just the consequences of just the debt crisis that's imploding within our country here. And so I want to just cover a couple headlines caught my attention, as well as all the other things out there happening. I have maybe 7, 8, 9 tabs open, all relevant to what's happening with the real economy and Main Street. And so looking forward to sharing that, as well as hearing and seeing what you guys are keeping your eyes on. So as always, feel free to let me know in the chat what is the latest that you guys have been covering, and we'll just keep everybody informed and up to date on what's happening, man. So for those who are plugging in with us, if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up button, show your support for the channel, and hopefully that lets the algorithms know that more people want to plug in and connect with us in real time. And also, if you follow me on Rumble as well, make sure you guys hit that notification there so you get plugged in when we go live, so we can always stay connected. And if you have not, connect with us on the social media tab. We got Telegram, which is the most active channel that I tend to post throughout the day, as well as the rest of the community members. So it's very active throughout the day. So join us over there, and you'll be up to date on what's happening in real time, covering a variety of subjects, rather. So all right, man. I hope everyone is doing well. Let me know where everybody's checking in from. We got Gene checking in. Appreciate you. We got Martin. Let me see. He says, stay strong, my friend, and walk in the power of his might. You're quite a witness. Appreciate you, my friend. That's the goal. That is the goal. Be of encouragement in some capacity while keeping people plugged into what's happening, in the natural side of things. What else we got? Beautiful sunrises checking in with us. Appreciate you. Great rising, everyone. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right. So don't want to waste any time, man. I want to get right into it. And so it's always the format, get into some good news coming from the word of God itself, directly with the devotional that I start my day off with, and then get into some of the market activity, looking at some numbers and some figures. And then we'll get into things impacting Wall Street all the way down to Main Street. So it's a good way to cover a little bit of everything and making sure everybody stays plugged in. So, and then also on the back end here, trying to work on some visual aids, some graphics, trying to just put everything into a short, concise, little visual aid, as well as some working on an ebook and things like that. So just trying to create more resources and tools for people to get plugged in, to stay up to date on what's happening, so that they can, I guess, protect, preserve, and prepare for the changes that are underway. And they are picking up mighty fast, I must admit. So all right, man, let's get into it. Start off with some good news, and then we get into everything else. Let's get it. All right, so this is the devotional for today. As you can see here, it says already accomplished, April 22nd. And so it starts off with Romans 4:17. It says here, this promise is from God himself, who makes the dead live again and speaks of future events with as much certainty as though they were already past, from the TLB version. And it says here, in your limited sight, the fulfillment of God promises may appear distant. You cannot see the future or how the Lord is working, so it's understandable to focus on the challenges ahead. However, your loving Father calls you to look to him rather than your circumstances, and to believe, quote, if he has promised me, then it's already done, unquote. This is the faith that Abraham demonstrated. Although God promised him a son, the decades passed without fulfillment. No one would have blamed Abraham for being disheartened. After all, could a 100-year-old man and a 90-year-old woman really conceive a child? But Abraham continued to believe, understanding that to his timeless God, Isaac already existed, as did the generations after him. It says, friend, when God challenges you to trust him, look beyond the natural, knowing what he's promised has already been accomplished. Then you can trust him to work, even when he's undetected, and praise him for his provision. And the closing prayer is, Lord, thank you that the blessings of your plans have already been accomplished. Amen. All right, here. So as I'm looking, I'm noticing that the screen is not displaying the way that I would like it to, unfortunately. And so we will make it work here. So due to looks like what could be considered technical issues where I'm on half the screen. That is not my fault there. That is something to do with the software side of things. So uh, just as a heads up, so people don't say, Mike, your screen is all messed up. Like, nope, that's not how I originated to go. And at this point, I can't change it. Let me see here. So I can't change it. So that's all I have to operate with. So we'll make the most of it. Let me make sure. Okay, so things are not flowing well. Okay, anyway, so I'll just get through the primary subject matter. We'll keep things flowing. Don't want to make this a big issue, but as long as you guys can see me and hear me, that's most important, I guess. So the goal is just to keep you plugged in, keep you informed, and we'll do the best we can with what we have here. Even though I hate when these type of issues come about beyond my control. But anyway, okay, let's get into it, man. So before I always move forward, I want to make sure I keep everybody plugged in with some resources and tools and opportunities dealing with the channel here. So let me just get right into it, man. All right. So for those who have not, I want to encourage you. It might be new to the channel, never know who's new, but the Rethinking a Dollar IQ quiz. So rethinkingadollar.com/quiz, 10 simple questions to basically help you fill in the knowledge gap on what you do, what you know or may not know in reference to the history of what you call your money, aka the dollar. And so as of right now, the average is about 60%. And so that lets me know that I have a lot more work to do just to get information to people on having them, I guess, think and to begin to rethink what we've known as money up until this point, because it is crucial given all the weaponization of the monetary structures and all the derivatives spun off of our debt. So if you have not, rethinkingthedollar.com/quiz, take that. And then if you find, opportunities in it, feel free to pass it forward so more people can plug in. All righty. Let's keep it moving here. And then on the last note here, for those who are interested in finding out more information on how to take possession of their retirement portfolio via self-directed IRA, colonialmetalgroup.com/RTD is my partners here that allow people to, I guess, ask questions, connect with the experts, and get anything that you need to get in your physical possession done through their process they put in place. So links in the description. If you fill out this form here, you'll be contacted by one of the experts there. Ask questions, get all the information you need to make sure it's something for you, because as of right now, we're witnessing the inflated asset bubbles and all things that are deliberately propped up, whereas in gold and silver, true monetary soundness that is designed to protect and preserve wealth is something that you can take in possession for yourself. So rethinking a dollar. Here we go here. Check this out. All the information you need, links in the description, as well as call it 888-521-2448 and speak with the experts and get your questions answered on how to get possession of what is yours. And they have an opportunity for those who get a free safe as well as some silver for those who participate. So check them out if you guys are interested. All right, let's keep it moving, man. All right, so one thing I noticed this morning, and I have some commentary from market analysts that kind of explains what appears to be the current drawdown in the metals this morning. And so I'll share that as well. And so let me just jump right into it and not waste any time. So as of right now, just looking at what's happening in the precious metal sector, we have a nice little cooling off of metal activity this morning. And so as of now, I saw earlier gold was down $60 or so to open up on the Western Hemisphere here. So as of right now, we're looking at $2,334 an ounce. An ounce. And so this is what this looks like. So as we can see, from the time the markets opened this morning, we have a nice little cooling off here. Let me just zoom in here. We have a nice little cooling off here. So literally, here we go. Bam, markets open, and then it just whoop right off the hip. But then also, looks like into late closing hours over in Asia, that's where the sell-off started. And so where is this from? What's coming about here? Let me share with you some commentary in reference to some activity that took place over the weekend that kind of flew by the radar. So let me grab it here. So there is one of the YouTube community members who does a good job of sharing commentary, and he put out some very interesting tweets here. Let me grab it. Here, and it has to do with the Shanghai Futures Exchange ultimately adding or increasing the margins, where their attempt is to force people towards the physical rather than speculative nature of the futures contracts, which has been what has been driving the price up as of late. And if I can find it here, it was some great commentary that would. Let me grab it. Where's it at? Okay, give me a second here. Okay, so here's just some things here. Let me see here. Okay, so I'll just share this real quick, just to highlight a little bit of what's being talked about here. But this is some activity that's being done in the Eastern Hemisphere that could have led to this drawdown in precious metals. And it has to do with the Chinese wanting to steer people towards the physical rather than towards the futures, which I guess was leading the price activity that we've seen over the last several weeks, probably months. But here is from the young, what is this? The young pretender. And this is just one of many of his threads. I encourage you to go check him out if you want to find out more. But the way he painted this picture here kind of makes sense to me. That's why I wanted to share. But it says here the Chinese authorities, by raising margins on paper, gold, and silver trading, have brought forward the physical gold revaluation. It says an accelerated time frame for the physical revaluation is far more important than a frothy yet admittedly enjoyable paper rally. So ultimately what he's saying is that by this Chinese authorities bringing forth the margin, raising the margins there on the futures, that right there steers people more towards reality, which is the actual physical spot price at the moment, rather than looking ahead a month or two. And so he's like basically saying that things will cool off a little bit until the current spot price is what will be utilized to set the real world price of gold and silver moving forward, where the more people take physical all out of the vaults, that in and of itself, the demand of that will ultimately drive up the actual price itself rather than the papers market, because it looks like the papers market in the East was doing too much driving, and it resembles too much of what's happening in the Western Hemisphere. And I guess the Asian markets want to stay away from that and focus on the actual physical itself. And so it's like more. So some of his other threads talk about don't more so focus on the price, just give it time. And as the revaluation with the increased margin on the futures force people down towards the physical, things will settle itself out, and then a spot price of physical will lead demand rather than the future. So just a little side note there for who people who are interested. But so this cool off is what I'm getting at, is this cool off that is currently taking place now is more so temporary. And it has a lot to do with the revaluation, as he's calling it here, from the futures to the spot, the physical. So anyway, so with this being the case, my point is for silver, if this is true, what I just stated, then that means right now 2741 is a good time to take advantage of this short intern revaluation before things really catch off, or take off rather. So good buying opportunity for those who are interested. Okay, enough of that. Let's take a look at what's happening in the bubble sphere, in the crypto bubble sphere. And so as of right now, we got Bitcoin doing its thing after the halving. Everybody was so excited about the halving last week. And so as of this morning, it was 65,776, and now it's 66290, or give or take 219. So it's doing a little bit of a bid. And then, of course, Ethereum always follows, or Ethereum leads and Bitcoin follows, however you want to go. But they work hand in hand, deliberately being used together. So for those who are speculating and trading in that sector, I'm sure you're doing well this morning. Now let's take a look at, let me get my bubbles up here, my map up here. So it looks like the markets are open very favorably this morning. So it looks like the whole Palestinian / Gaza / Iran, Israel situation is not much to be concerned with anymore. And so looks like the market, look at NVIDIA is doing its thing this morning. Google is up this morning. Yeah, boy, it's a good time to be in the banking sector. It looks like it's even doing well. So earnings reports are coming out. So that's why. And it says here, stock market today, stocks turn upbeat with big tech earnings in view. So looks like a lot of people are expecting to hear some very favorable news from the legacy system, traditional finance system there. So that's why that is. But then again, we talked about gold and silver, where we should be, want to be. But okay, so what led me to talk about today's subject? Ultimately, I saw that one of my, not favorite, but one of the retail stores that I love, used to shop at a while ago, but still do every blue moon, Express. is filing for bankruptcy. And then, of course, last week we had Red Lobster filing for bankruptcy. So those are just two companies that, I don't frequently use, but use more than enough of. But then again, I'm thinking about, I haven't touched on the debt issues impacting the businesses directly. And so we're seeing an uptick in of all the bankruptcy categories, chapter 7, chapter 5, chapter 11, all the categories, even down to the actual individual bankruptcy filings ticking upwards, and more stories about foreclosures. And ultimately, all that debt, whether it be from private hands, which is bare minimum, but more likely falls on the regional banks. So it just shows more signs of the pending stress that the commercial banks are experiencing, in particular the regional banks, which is eventually going to lead up to some type of cataclysmic event. There's no way to avoid that. So let's jump right into it. And so here is the headline that I want to lead off with. As I mentioned, Express files bankruptcy. Will close 95 Express and all Up West stores. And so some people might say, well, what does this matter? Like, okay, so these bankruptcies and store closures equal layoffs. And so with Red Lobster closing a lot of their stores, Red Express and Up West closing stores, that's, it's going to equate to thousands of jobs where people now literally will be unemployed and back into, trying to get back into the labor market. And then we got those fictitious, jobs numbers that we've been given. This paints a very rosy and peachy economy. And so the more you hear about bankruptcies, foreclosures, layoffs, and then we get the alternative narrative saying that everything is all hunky-dory, that's just more of a reason to really not believe anything coming from mainstream media. But real quick here, Express says closing retailer set court approval to continue operating its stores and paying its employees. And so it says Monday that it has filed for bankruptcy, a move to trouble retailer expected to pursue for the last few months. Yada yada yada. They go to the next article. And so one thing I saw here, it says, I saw a report saying 2,600 employees will be potentially laid off in the days ahead. So this is just one of a lot. I was going through all the recent bankruptcy filings as well as foreclosures, and the numbers are continuing to add up. And so get to the next story here. And this is something that happened last week, but I didn't get a chance to talk about it. But Red Lobster eyes bankruptcy option for after $11 million in losses from endless shrimp. So once again, a lot of stores closing and they're going out of business completely, I believe. So with that being the case, a lot of layoffs. And I don't actually, go to the Red Lobster as much as I used to, but just one of the things that shows us real heartbeat of the economy. All right, here, what else we got here? This is an interesting story here that caught my attention. This is from Zero Hedge. Let me try to zoom in here. It says commercial real estate foreclosures soar to levels not seen in nearly a decade. It says larger cracks are appearing in the U.S. commercial real estate market at a time when uncertainty around the regional banking industry flashes red. It says the latest report from the real estate data provider Atom shows the commercial real estate foreclosures topped 625 commercial real estate foreclosures in March, up 6% from February and 117% from the same period last year. So literally, man, 117%. Like, so that is bad debt on the books of these regional banks, which are literally hemorrhaging right now, debt, which is causing a problem. It says Atom has been tracking commercial real estate since 2014. The number of foreclosures approaching the peak of 889 back in October. So just a little look here at this visual aid. It says California began experiencing a notable rise in commercial foreclosures in November of this past year, surpassing 100 cases and continue to escalate thereafter. New York, Florida, Texas, and New Jersey also show increases in the commercial real estate foreclosures. So just zooming in here, as you guys can see, this goes back to 2014 where it was 889. And so literally it's starting to peak or touch figures since that. And so literally not quite sure why we got this slight little cool off here. But nevertheless, it's only the first quarter, or we're actually in the second quarter now. And so we can expect prices or issues to continue to surface their head above water. And then here's another little yearly years of supply, the amount of actual foreclosed buildings actually on the market here. And so And we can see here Class A, Class B, different categories. And the average trend is the dotted blue line, as you can see right here. And then now we're way past that. And then the average line here in the yellow of Class B, C is here. But then again, we're surging past that. So literally, we're on the cusp of all-time new highs, which on somebody's asset is another person's liability. So, but then again, it's nothing new here. And then here's another little headline here. Corporate bankruptcies ticked up 43% in first quarter from 2023. And then it talks about Blowflex, Joanne, amongst many others, but just more details here. And then, so more details to this article is on the next. It says here, there were 1,894 new commercial Chapter 11 cases in the first quarter of this year, up from 1,300 last year, the same period. So, and then this is the actual detailed article here. I ain't gonna read it all, but it just goes to show the trend ticking upwards. It says new bankruptcy filings during the first calendar year of 2024 registered year-over-year increases across all U.S. major filing categories. Top commercial 11 filings, the 1894 I just mentioned. It says during the first quarter of 2024 were up 43% from last year. Total commercial bankruptcies increased 22% first quarter of this year, as 7,113 filings surpassed last year's 5,820. So it says 194 total bankruptcy filings represent a 14% increase from 100,000 last year. So upward it's going. And then on another note here, this is something that came out over the yesterday, but it was of interest to me because this goes to show UBS banking system. They're doing some restructuring and they have 5 phases of laying off periodically throughout this year. And at the end of the day, potentially, and this is in Europe, but it says here, most of the cost savings, what they're calling this, are set to come from cutting staff and analysts, having been estimated between 30,000 to 35,000 jobs could go globally. So with UBS restructuring, going through this 5-phase cost-saving mechanism, they're going to lay off 30 to 35,000 bankers. And yeah, that's never a good day. Never a good day there when they're laying off bankers like that. But then again, that's the world we're living in. All right, what else we got here? Let me see here if I have anything else set up. I can go through my bookmarks here. Let me share a couple other things here with you. And then also, what do you what do you guys keep an eye on? I see endless trip. What do you guys keep an eye on these days? So it looks like, let me get some more stories here. Let me clear out some things on the back end here. It looks like Ukraine is getting more funds. Let me find that article that I had. Let me see, where did it go? Looks like the bill passed. The recent aid of 60 billion, if I'm not mistaken? They've been throwing out so much money nowadays. Not quite sure how much it is. Let me grab the article here. I thought I had it up here. And let me grab the article here. Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Our traitor government. That's what they can be called. And they were chanting and celebrating Ukraine. So here's just a little article here that I put up in a Telegram chat. It says here, House passes billions in aid for Ukraine and Israel, breaking long congressional stalemate. So, oh my goodness, these people are hell bent on making sure that they keep this agenda going while literally just ignoring their responsibility to our country itself. But it says here, the House will be approved $95 billion in foreign aid for Ukraine, Israel, and other U.S. allies in a rare Saturday session. Democrats and Republicans joined together after months of political turmoil over renewed American support for repelling Russia's invasion. It says with overwhelming support, $61 billion in aid for Ukraine delivered, a strong showing of American backing as lawmakers race to deliver a fresh round of U.S. support. They are literally this. I mean, we're already past the point of no return. But when I see this continual push to support Ukraine, knowing the funds have nothing to do with a war there, there's no winning anything there because it's not about winning. It's more so about draining the remaining, I guess, credibility as well as purchasing power out of our current financial sector before something gives, and they're forced to now bring in and reboot the system and bring in that new structure, which will be under their control still, but not as easily to manipulate because the whole world and every single nation will also be rebooting, resetting their financial structure with the wholesale CBDCs, the retail CBDCs, and eventually governments needing to reestablish trust amongst themselves, i.e., the whole rush to gold. So when I'm seeing our politicians or politicians in this country deliberately destroying our country from within by further creating funds out of nowhere, aka they say it's taxpayer funded, but there's most people aren't really paying taxes like that to fund this. So literally, there's this deficit spending here. It just only incentivized me more to look at this item here in a different way. Like literally, this is their weapon of choice to fund their own operations and pad their own pockets. But then again, for those who live, breathe, and work all around this item here, it just, for me, it's more of a reason why the rethinking the dollar concept of really understanding like that all dollars are not created equal. And it's a big difference between this thing here and then this thing here, which I love to just highlight. Like this to me is the best form of a dollar, even though it's worth more than a single dollar. But yeah, to get out of debt, literally this is my version of getting out of debt here and getting into something sound, true, and tested as a way of just protecting yourself against your own government is what it boils down to. Because these people are literally not operating in our best interest, and it's becoming obvious. But then again, at this point, other than just being proactive for yourself, is nothing that we can do as a people, just because most people don't even know what's happening, man. What we got here? Tom says Trump and Biden killed the economy. Yeah, I would say this process of depleting the Federal Reserve note of its purchasing power is not limited to just Trump and Biden. Every president had and play their own role in getting us to this point where we're at now. And that is no more evident than a visual aid I love to go back to. Let me just give you a second here. I'll bring it up on the screen here. And so I want people to realize this is not a political party thing. This is just how the system operates. Every single president on this visual aid here played their part. Even going back to the creation of the system with Woodrow Wilson all the way through. And each president played a vital role. They played a part. They all played their fair share in getting us to this point where literally Biden will be the last administration under this current Federal Reserve note structure before it itself is rebranded. So this is just more of an indication that it don't matter what party you vote for, if you think your vote count or whatever, just follow what they do with these things here. They're destroying it in real time. So if you know better, hopefully you can do better, aka by protecting yourself. More monkey business says UK copper pennies are worth more than the pound now. I don't doubt it. Oh, speaking of, let me share some more with you about events that are happening around the world. That this is things worth being aware of. So, because you mentioned copper, let me share something with you. I bookmarked something. Let me see if I can find it. Can I find it? Give me 1 second here. I had some very interesting developments about what China is. They say hoarding or let me see. Give me 1 second here. There's some visual graphs here. Here we go. Okay, so this is one here. This is from Mario Nafel, does some good work putting together the pieces of the puzzle here, but talks about what China's stockpile says. China stockpiling natural resources. It says China is reportedly increasing reserves of oil and natural resources to all-time highs in an apparent move to mitigate a forecasted devaluation of the national currency. So literally, according to the information shared here, based upon China's activity, what he's saying is that China is hoarding a lot of natural resources for the idea that soon enough they will look to devalue the yuan to the dollar, break that quasi peg of like $1 to like, was it always like between 6 and 7 yuan, and allowing the yuan to float freely by itself and have the free market give it its own true free market value, so that they can begin internationalizing, allowing the yuan, the renminbi, to float and you be utilized as an alternative outside of the US dollar system. So not sure how true this is, but these are just things worth taking into consideration. But it says experts suggest the move is a result of a internationalization of the Chinese yuan, which makes purchasing costs lower and gives China the opportunity to challenge the status quo of oil being priced in dollars. So this is from Stone Research, but it just shows this visual right here of Chinese copper stocks level since 2007. And so this dark line here shows just 2024 level. So literally this year alone, last 4 months, China has been literally stockpiling large amounts of copper in comparison to previous years. And so the two lighter blue lines here show the marginal increase or accumulation of copper within China, and just 2024 blows it all out the water. So why are they accumulating so much copper? We'll find out. And then on another note here, when it comes to energy, crude world stock, it says China is building inventory while the U.S. is doing the opposite. So we know our strategic petroleum reserve was being drained intentionally to keep prices down. But here we have EU in the red, and then we have China in this dark gray here. And so they're at, say, maybe 4 point something billion barrels in their energy reserves. EU has built up a nice little energy reserves, ultimately, I'd assume, Russian oil. And here we have in the blue here, the U.S. literally in 2020, let me zoom in. So in 2020, this little blip right here shows the peak of what we had in reserves. And then when Biden came in office, they used the strategic petroleum reserves as a way of flooding the market, keeping price down to where we have less now than we did then. So if something hits the fan, we're going to be, gas prices will still probably trend upwards for us because we're, going to be forced to have to use that. And there's no plans, no time soon to restock that. So, yeah, we'll see. And then, of course, we know that they've been accumulating a large amounts of gold, whether it be stuff being brought in from outside the country or stuff mined in the country that we know nothing about. So there is a plan. There is a greater plan happening right now, and we will find out what that plan is. But just to share with you some thoughts from other people here, from some person that says, meanwhile, the U.S. oil reserves were depleted to falsely lower market prices in an attempt to save president's popularity after putting an end to every economic policy that was working when he stepped in office on the first day. So basically just saying how Biden canceled everything Trump did, which was in favor of our country, even though he still was running a deficit as well. But anyway, so this is just some things that are worth bringing up. And what else we got here? So let's get into the little Q&A real quick. What do you guys have in your mind? Feel free to throw out some thoughts, ideas, suggestions. What are you keeping an eye on? Carlos says 2,600 new unemployment benefits clients. Right. But then again, those numbers that will be provided from the BLS won't get counted this time. And speaking of fraudulent numbers, look no further than, let me share something with you right quick. When you talk about faulty numbers coming from the BLS, just check out the most recent unemployment insurance claims. Let me share this right here with you. So this is from Jim Bianco Research, and he's talking about just the fraudulent numbers we got last week. It says, below is the number of initial filings for unemployment insurance. It says, how is this statistically possible? 5 of the last 6 weeks, the exact same number coming from the BLS. So as you can see here, these are the figures they're giving us. So every Friday they give some figures: 212, 212, 222, 212, 212, 212. So this is the figures coming from BLS on the unemployment filings weekly. So Coincidence? Fake? Fraudulent? Yeah, I'll let you guys do the figure out on that one. But yeah, that's what it is, man. Never a dull moment in the world of manipulation and fake statistics. Fake statistics. It says right now it's harvest time. It's harvest time for the rich, bankers, investors, then debt jubilee, and then new debt system, just like feudalism, indenture servant, crop, sharing, loan holder, credit cards. Yeah, are here, 100% fake. So that's the thing. Like it's for me, as I try to decipher what news stories is worth bringing to the forefront and sharing my 2 cents on. It's coming harder and harder to find stories worthwhile, just because everything that come from mainstream media has been uh fraudulently adjusted to fit their narrative. So it's like, man, like we don't know what the real figures are for anything nowadays, but we do know what they're forcing us or one that's keeping attention on, and that's our portfolios, your individual portfolios. Like long as the markets are up and everything's green, you feel, I guess, the wealth effect of like accumulating dollars as it's being debased. Everything is hunky dory, but yeah, we all know that that's just temporarily until something changes or they decide to pull the plug, whatever that means, whatever that looks like, and then whatever else comes after that. So all right, man. But anyway, we know what time it is. All right. Well, today is Monday. It's going to be an interesting week, as always. We're going to get more news, more stories about what's happening or what's being done deliberately. But then again, I'm going to try to look on the other side of that and figure out what's really happening and bring it to you guys and get your thoughts. So, as always, if you guys found value in today's live stream, just covering all the basic topics worth touching on for the day, hit that thumbs up button. And if you find a value as well, feel free to share this so more people can plug in and get an alternative perspective on what's happening in the real world. But more importantly, it all points back to the great opportunity that has been afforded us at this current time frame, and it happens to be right here. The most undervalued, underappreciated monetary medium that is yet to be truly revealed for what it's worth in USD terms. But then again, the physical possession in your hand of 1 ounce will definitely weigh a lot more than the paper price in the future. So anyway, man, great opportunity here. But as always, be blessed, be safe, and I will see you guys tomorrow, Lord willing. Peace.